Apologies. I now call to order the January 14th, 2025 Board of Trustees meeting, the time being 6:31 p.m. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, welcome back from the break, everybody. Hopefully everybody had a good holiday and Happy New Year as far as that goes. Merry Christmas. Just wanted to state that unfortunately Mayor shows he couldn't be here with us tonight, so you've got me this evening. Ms. Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Thank you. Trustee Cannon?
Here.
Trustee Daly?
Present.
Trustee Moyer?
Here.
Trustee Teets?
Here.
Trustee Wiegand?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Mason?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem, you have a quorum.
Thank you, Clerk. Do we have any amendments to the agenda this evening? And I do have a quick caveat here. Staff did request that we have item C5 removed from the consent agenda. Unfortunately, there was a slight miscommunication between the dealership regarding the truck we were purchasing and had sold it to another buyer. So I am looking for a motion to table that item as well as any other amendments as deemed by the board.
I make a motion to table item number C5, resolution number 04-2025, approving the CIP purchase of a Parks and Recreation maintenance truck.
Second.
Ms. Clerk, can I get a roll call, please?
Trustee Cannon?
Yes.
Trustee Daly?
Yes.
Trustee Moyer?
Yes.
Trustee Teets?
Yes.
Trustee Wiegand?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Mason?
Yes. Excellent. And are there any conflicts of interest this evening? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and just move on to a quick addition to the, I apologize, I probably should have added this to the agenda, but I wanted to ask LCSO to come up and introduce themselves tonight. We've got Sergeant Downing and our new Lieutenant Thiemann here with us this evening. I wanted to, before we get to that, wanted to have them quickly introduce themselves if they wouldn't mind doing that. Just at the podium, sir.
Good evening. My name is Josiah Thiemann. I'm the acting lieutenant for Whiteside, which is our contract towns. I've had a chance to meet some of you already, but I'm looking forward to giving you guys whatever support you need to make Sergeant Russ Downing and the rest of the crew up here successful. I grew up in Larimer. I played football with the mayor at Pooter, so this is my home. I know this place quite well, and I'm excited to be here, serve with you guys. So, thank you.
Good evening, I'm Russ Downing. I've served up here as a corporal for a few years, a couple of years ago, and as a deputy as well. So I've got a fair bit of time under the Wellington umbrella. I'm looking forward to working with all of you and working on the relationship that we've got with the town of Wellington and making sure that we can serve you as best we can on this contract.
Does the board have any questions for the new additions to the LSO team out here?
No, welcome.
Thank you, Sergeant Downing, Lieutenant Thiemann. Great to have you guys on board. We'll move right into the agenda this evening. We've got a quick proclamation for Martin Luther King Day, and I'll go ahead and read that now. Whereas Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. devoted his life to advancing civil rights, social justice, equality, and opportunities for all, whereas Dr. King's efforts and perseverance led to the enactment of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, prohibiting discrimination based on race, color, religion, or national origin, paving the way for future civil rights legislation at both the federal and state level to advance equality in our society. Whereas in 1963, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. stood in the National Mall in Washington, D.C. before thousands of demonstrators who had gathered to march for freedom, justice, and equality. On that day, Dr. King shared a dream that has continued to inspire a nation to bring justice where there is injustice, freedom where there is oppression, peace where there is violence, and opportunity where there is poverty. Whereas today, people of all backgrounds continue that march, raising their voices to confront abuses of power, challenge hate and discrimination, protect the rights to vote, and access quality jobs, healthcare, housing, and education. And whereas, in recognition of Dr. King's actions and example in serving all people in our great nation, the town of Wellington will join with its state and federal government counterparts to celebrate and memorialize Dr. King. Now, therefore, I, Brian Mason, Mayor Pro Tem of the town of Wellington, Colorado, do hereby proclaim Monday, January 20th, 2025 as Martin Luther King Jr. Day, and urge all citizens to join in the celebration of Dr. King and the values that he and his memory represents in our community. In witness thereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of Wellington to be affixed this 14th day of January 2025. Okay, now is the time for public comment. Members of the public who wish to comment on non-agenda items, please sign in on the sheet behind the podium and state your name clearly into the microphone. Each speaker will have 3 minutes to provide comments. Seeing none, we'll roll into the consent agenda this evening. Will the clerk please read the title of the items on the consent agenda?
December 10th, 2024 meeting minutes, resolution number 1-2025, designating a public place for the posting of notices concerning public meetings. Resolution number 02-2025, approving a 3-mile plan for municipal annexations. And resolution number 03-2025, a resolution approving the Baker Tilly US LLP third amended engagement letter to provide financial management services to the town of Wellington.
Thank you, Ms. Clerk. Do I hear a motion and a second on the consent agenda this evening?
A second?
Ms. Clerk, can I get a roll call, please?
Yes.
Trustee Daly?
Yes.
Trustee Moyer?
Yes.
Trustee Teets?
Yes.
Trustee Wiegand?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Mason?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem, that passes.
Thank you, Ms. Clerk. Rolling into reports. These are all the action items we've got this evening, so we'll roll into reports. Mr. Attorney, do you have any report this evening?
I do not have a report for you today.
Thank you. Ms. Administrator, do you have any report this evening?
Just one item. Next week, you'll have a work session. It's a joint meeting to start with Main Street and the Chamber. That meeting will be starting at 6 p.m., so I'll have Ms. Hill add that to your calendar so that you're aware of that time change. So we'll start with dinner at 6 and roll into the meeting pretty quickly. Thank you.
Thank you for that update. Staff communications were included in the packet. I'm not, does the board have any questions concerning staff communications?
I have just one question. We get the annual report for construction, development, and neighborhood services every year. I'm curious if we can see more information on this as well. I mean, and I'm not saying this in a negative light, but you know, when you hear reports that there are people that come and want to do business in Wellington and find it difficult to do business, I think we need to find a way to track and find some metrics to help us to see how we're doing, just as a pulse. You know, if it takes, you know, X amount of days to do a certain title, I know this is the basket of requests that come across our building department is pretty huge.
Yeah.
But if we were tracking, you know, from start to completion, how long it takes people to get through certain phases of that process, it would also give our staff an opportunity to find ways to find improvements and maybe find ways to create some efficiencies and create an opportunity for businesses and people who are trying to get building permits to speed through the process a little bit faster.
Okay.
And I'd like to, you know, hear other trustees' thoughts on this.
I think it's a fantastic idea. I think that that's one of the things when we hear from a lot of residents. I know we had issues with getting everything fast-tracked with the new software for building permits, or not permits, but, you know, building app, yeah, in general. And I think that this is just one of those additional things that when we say we're open for business, we need to understand that open for business on how we can streamline that stuff to make people, and it might not even be something that is inaccurate, but it might just be something that's not communicated correctly. And it might assist in identifying how to communicate certain things more effectively. So no, I think it's a fantastic idea.
I agree. If we're talking about affordable housing and possibly being able to move folks through the pipeline a little bit quicker, we need to know what quicker is. I guarantee you, though, that Cody has that spreadsheet either in existence already or it lives in his brain. So,
Yeah, I agree completely with this. We need to know who's looking at the town and so we can encourage more and try to set some boundaries so we can hopefully increase business, bring in more sales tax dollars, and it's so important. We need to make it as streamlined as we can, and we need to be as business friendly as we can be too. So, and I think we've talked about that a few times. So, I think that's a great idea. Thank you.
Keeping track of it would be great. I think a step beyond that would probably be to take some recommendations for ways to actually streamline the process, maybe suggestions for extended administrative approval for certain topics that may not need to go through a variety of going to meetings, waiting a whole month for a trustee meeting, whatever the case might be. I mean, if there's recommendations on some of these items that are holding up a process or waiting towards meetings that could very well and within maybe the recommendation of this board meet an administrative option to move forward, that would be a great way to streamline that process. So as we're looking for those opportunities, I hope that there would also be action associated with that where we can act and enable them to move as fast as they would love to go. So I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, I certainly agree with all the comments that the board's brought up at this point. Certainly if the town is putting up any roadblocks or anything like that as far as getting things approved or not being timely about things, I think we would certainly want to know those things and figure out, what we can do to make those processes better. Director Byrd, I was just curious if you might have any comments you wanted to add this evening?
Can I speak for a moment? First, we are not creating any roadblocks. I can guarantee you that. I can tell you that people are slow to respond. They aren't meeting their deadlines 99% of the time. And I'm happy to work with Cody to see if we can come up with some options. But I can't, until we know of specifics, if any of you have specific items that you've heard of that that the town of Wellington has held up a project, I'd love to hear that. Because I think we would have a good reason why something got held up. It's certainly not due to inaction by this team. Is there ways we can improve the code or improve our processes? Always. And I'm happy to work with Cody on that.
Absolutely appreciate those comments, Ms. Garcia. Sure, Trustee Cannon.
I agree with you, Ms. Garcia. Again, this isn't saying that anyone's doing anything wrong. It's just finding ways that we can improve.
Absolutely.
And if improvement and making us a business-friendly environment, and we can find ways to streamline this and so forth, everyone benefits from
Absolutely.
that, and I know the quality of Cody and his staff, and yes, I understand that it's a two-way street out there.
Every day.
And a lot of people don't understand the process. But again, in any process improvement, establishing metrics and measuring those against established performance measures is a way to improve. So if we don't have those in place, that's what I would be recommend that we find a way to do that.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Well, and think about it. How awesome would it be to be rumored to be one of the easiest areas to open a new business in? I would like to have positive rumors circling about Wellington.
Mr. Byrd.
Planning Director. I do oversee the building department. Appreciate the comments and the feedback. We are absolutely, and I appreciated Administrator Garcia's comments as well. We are always looking for ways to improve, but I can also tell you that we have a really top-notch team in our building department and our planning department. To some of the comments, for sure, businesses can hit roadblocks when the comments that they receive from town staff are, here's how you meet our minimum standards, and then weeks will pass before they get their contractors online, designs submitted for review, but we have minimum turnaround times with our contract with Safe Built for commercial plan reviews. It's 15 days for large projects, 10 days, business days for small projects, and we usually exceed those or come in under the minimum timelines for review. Then the project may sit for weeks while we're waiting for a resubmission, and then we have 5 days to respond. So we definitely are aware that there's two components to that timeline, and most of the time our comments are turned around as quickly as we can, and then we sit and wait for a designer to get back to us with here's how we're going to address that code question. So we're on top of those things. We do already track the number of days for building permits. I think you'd be surprised how quick those actually turn around. And I would be open to feedback on how we can report that back if the board is interested in seeing those numbers. I will also point out that we can report that probably monthly would be the minimum amount that we would want to do, just in terms of staff time and resources to pull those reports and prepare them. But we could consider doing that if it's of value to the board, to get that information in front of you. I also wanted to highlight, as was alluded to, our business licensing process. This is a task that our planning and building team has taken on recently, and we do strive to get that turned around as quickly as we can. We have streamlined that process through our permitting software to be responsive, and from what I can see, those are being very quick turnarounds right now. We know we haven't reached all of our businesses in that new process format. We're continuing to see new applications and renewals trickling in, but we are jumping on those and turning them around, in addition to providing far more support for businesses and their properties through this new process than the town has provided in the past. So we're very excited to roll these things out, and we are looking forward to making more progress in 2025. I'd be happy to answer any other questions you might have on this report.
I got a quick question.
Yes, sir.
Do you work with the economic development part of the town? And I know I would like to see reports seeing who's looking at the town periodically, what businesses. And so, if you work with economic development, we got holes in this town quite a bit. So they could be out there researching and seeing what we could do to attract different types of business. And I think that, coordinating all that together would help a lot too. And I know you probably do.
Yeah, so, and definitely appreciate the question and the comment, Trustee Wiegand. The economic development piece is going to be a little bit new to my department. Obviously, planning's always involved in elements of that. Business attraction has not been one of those historic elements that the town has pursued. We've dabbled into it a little bit, but we haven't made a full-fledged program. One of the things that we want to work on in 2025 is developing an economic roadmap for the town, and we'll need some guidance and feedback from the board on what are the desired outcomes that the board has regarding economic development. Staff will then propose, these are some things that we think we can do to help move the needle in the direction to reach those goals. Right now, economic development is a great buzzword, but doesn't have any framework around it, and 2025 is the year where we see we can provide that framework.
Thank you.
Of course, thank you.
Any other questions from the board?
Thank you very
Well,
much.
Thank you, Director Byrd. Appreciate your comments on that. I know the team's been hard at work, and I think we just had, was it Soul Squared that gave us some very positive feedback about the business licensing process just last month. So really appreciate all the hard work you guys have been doing. So we'll go ahead and move on. Any board reports this evening? Trustee Moyer.
No report. I just want to say my heart is with everyone in California, Southern California, and those of us in Wellington that have family and friends there, praying for everybody's safety. And if you want to do something, there are many ways you can do that. So that's it.
Trustee Teets.
I don't have anything.
Trustee Wiegand.
No
Trustee Cannon.
Thank you. There's a CML Policy Committee meeting this Friday that I'll be attending, and unfortunately, I will not be here next week for the work session. I will be skiing in Telluride, excuse me, so I just had to rub that in a little bit. But I do appreciate all the work that everyone has been doing, all the trustees. I appreciate the efforts that, that all of you have put into making Wellington a better place. I think we're moving in a good direction. We've still got some water issues that we've got to resolve and some financial issues that we've got to resolve. To me, it doesn't seem as dire as it has been in recent years, because I think we've got a good team working on it. And I appreciate all the efforts by the other trustees to make that happen. So thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Cannon. Trustee Daly?
To touch on the conversation of water, if anybody saw the news out regarding our water plants and completion or near completion, I just wanted to give a congratulations out to our staff and engineering teams that really brought those projects in, and all of which, and all the staff that contributed to making sure that they were under budget. I know we've discussed this in the past before, but the gravity of how significant these projects are and what they mean to Wellington, and the fact that they could come in under budget is a really, really big thing to be proud of. So I wanted to say thank you. It's been an incredibly rough year for water rates, but our responsibility up here is also to make sure that when you turn on your water, water comes out of your faucet, and when you flush your toilet, that water goes away. So we have to make sure that these are resilient and services that can serve our community and keep us safe. So I wanted to say thank you for that, of course. A couple events coming up that I'm very excited about. This Friday is Mingle in Maine from 4 to 8 p.m. On Main Street, celebrating, in this one in particular, Chinese New Year, or as I like to say, Vietnamese New Year, as I am Vietnamese. So come out and celebrate that, and stop by our new businesses downtown. There's a couple, and then and also just celebrate and be with community on Main Street. Also, I don't think anybody's mentioned it yet, but we're having a St. Patty's Day parade. I don't know if we've done this before historically, but just definitely not in the recent history. I love parades. Wellington does parades well. It's kind of what we're known for when it comes to like 4th of July and those kind of things. So I'm very excited that we get to expand this and have more time for community downtown. So March 15th is going to be St. Patty's Day Parade and Festival. I think a lot more information to come about what the End Festival is. I want to thank, of course, all of our community partners for always making these kind of projects work, including the Wellington Main Streets program and the Wellington Chamber. I did want to mention that we opened a couple new businesses, and several of the trustees and I got to attend their ribbon cuttings on behalf of the Chamber of Commerce. Again, they're always welcoming and supporting these new businesses. One of them's Little Monsters out in the Wellington Business Park, and this is an amazing concept of indoor playground that I would have given so much to have available for my kids to be inside on cold days or studying. I got my master's degree when I stayed home with my kids, so it would have been really nice to have a place like this where they could have played, and I would have been on my computer with coffee. Oh my gosh, it would have been amazing. And then, of course, the revival of Soul Squared Brewing downtown. We got to welcome them home, and it was a wonderful celebration. I hope everybody pays these businesses a visit, and of course, always continues to shop local. I did get an opportunity to work with and talk to some of our developers in the last couple weeks. And I came with this feedback already before any of the conversation happened. But 3 words were used in a brief conversation about Director Byrd. And those 3 words were brilliant, genius, and creative. So I wanted to give you that feedback. They said Wellington's got amazing staff, in particular Director Byrd, and then proceeded to use those words. So I thought that was really cool, and I wanted to provide that feedback as a public thank you again. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Trustee Daly. I don't have any other report this evening, but I did also want to echo that shout out from Trustee Daly to our public works teams, as well as our partners at Hensel Phelps, Moltz Construction, Jacobs. Hopefully I haven't forgotten anybody else, as well as the rest of the administration staff. Obviously, the improvements to the water plant and the water treatment plant are probably the biggest endeavors that Wellington's gone through in its history, and will set us up for the next 20 to 25 years as far as the infrastructure goes. So certainly want to thank everybody and obviously our residents and ratepayers as far as that goes. I know things have been tough as far as rates goes. I promise you guys that that is certainly something that we are working on. As soon as we've got more details, we will certainly let you folks know. Other than that, I have no other board reports this evening. And we will go ahead and move into an executive session. Will the clerk please read the title for item E1?
Determining positions relative to matters that may be subject to negotiations, developing strategy for negotiations, and/or instructing negotiators pursuant to 24-6-4024E CRS, and for the purpose of receiving legal advice pursuant to 24-6-4024B CRS regarding matters with the North Poudre Irrigation Company. As required by CRS 24-6402 2D.5, 2A, and 2E, the executive session proceedings will be electronically recorded and the record will be preserved for 90 days through April 14th, 2025.
Thank you, Ms. Clerk. Do I hear a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Ms. Clerk, can I please get a roll call?
Trustee Cannon?
Yes.
Trustee Daly?
Yes.
Trustee Moyer?
Yes.
Trustee Teets?
Yes.
Trustee Wiegand?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Mason?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem, that passes.
Thank you, Ms. Clerk. I would now ask all members of the public that are not involved in the executive session to please go ahead and exit the building. And we will go ahead and get started.